in other industries like music who would not only stand right up there with other artists in all of these countries, but probably be the better or the best among all of them. So why invite Cal Denero? We invited Cal Denero as a department because in his latest album, he has taken his game to another level. I was having a meeting just now. I was having a meeting with the ambassador just now. And I told him that this album, this particular album has done. Hello? Am I audible enough? Yes, sir. Are you doing okay? So I was telling the ambassador that what this album has done for him and for us as a nation is to demonstrate that the Honorable Cal Denero, who has been focused locally to appease, to please his fan base, because this is what has made him a signature artist in Sierra Leone. He is one of the most responsive artists to his fan base. That is why. And that is very, very good. You have to represent your people. You have to represent your fans. But this time around, what Cal Denero has done is he is taking his fans out of their comfort zone. He now stands at a level where he can take his local fans out of their comfort zone to the international platform. This album has put him right up there at the international level with the kind of messaging that is resonating so much in the Pan-African world. The Heroes album, the way he managed to weave the story of great Pan-Africanists, dead and alive, is wonderful. This is aspirational in the sense that Cal Denero is saying, okay, we for play the BHK, we for satisfy the locality, but can we think about the bigger picture now? Can we look at the stories of our heroes? Can we aspire once again to show that we are a nation, we are a continent that has people that have had this kind of idea of what Africa can be and what we as a people can do in terms of our independence, in terms of our creativity, in terms of our innovation, and in terms of our life African consciousness, because that is clearly the kind of message portrayed in this album. Most of us, even us as intellectuals, I'm talking about students at Pre-college and members of a 100% educated community like Pre-college, have lost this African consciousness. And it's something that we have to bring back. Because if you look the West, if you look at Asia, they are clear in terms of their identity. They know exactly who they are. They know exactly where they are going in terms of their cultural dimension, their economy, their politics, and all of that. It will appear, if you take a look at contemporary Africa, it will appear as if we are mostly copying the West. Everything that is done around in the West is what we see to be. And that is the reason why we are lagging behind in most of these areas. But what Cal is saying here in the message is, can we go back to the roots? Can we develop our own identity? Can we define our own development trajectory? And can we as a people, African people, move towards a future that is created by us, for us, and for those who are coming after us? So this is impressive. I believe this is what has attracted the Department of History and African Studies. Now it's time for people like Cal, who from the grassroots has grown up to this level where he can stand at the pedestal and see what it all should be, to come to us as students of history and African studies and talk to us about insights, about what is really thinking about, not in songs now, but to give that as a lecture to us so that we can begin to think about the Black and African consciousness things he's talking about. So in our reading and understanding of our contemporary history or the history of the past, those things that have happened, we are now able to see the trajectory that we should be taking as a people. So I cannot be happier than this. I cannot be more pleased to be part of the occasion where the college is realizing that it's not just about 100% academic. We have said this time our team at Fude College is enhancing academic excellence. We want academic excellence at every time, but we are doing it alongside sport and entertainment. You all know that it is not true.
Yes, sir.
We projected that during the orientation, and we are very happy we are moving along that trajectory. Let us have people from industry. Let us have people on the ground, people who are working in entertainment, people who are in sport, to come to us and share their aspirations with us, their vision with us. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, on behalf of all of us, I want to welcome to the shores of Betrayal the Honorable Denero.
Thank you, God. That was a statement by the Deputy Registrar, Mr. Brema Ba, of Forabi College, University of Sierra Leone. Now we are having the Ambassador of Sierra Leone Entertainment
Thank you very much.
to do the public lectures.
Definitely, I want to thank the university once again for this opportunity, for definitely giving me this platform to just exhibit some of the ideas and the inspiration that I had creating the album Heroes. There's a backdrop to Heroes. For long I've been struggling, I've been having battles, whether to do an album as Heroes. The reason being that I was always hesitant that I would lose my fans. Usually I tend not to do music that's totally English driven, with the fear of losing my local fan base. But I've always had heroes in me. So some of the things I'm going to discuss here this afternoon. Shall I wait? So some of the things I'm going to discuss here today is in the area of the Black experience. The Heroes album is totally inspired by the Black experience. Oh, thank God. Make some noise for that. It feels a lot better. So, when I was given this opportunity, it actually falls right in my domain, because I consider myself to be an historian, somebody that do research, somebody that's very proud to be an African, somebody. So we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. I'm used to obstacles. Make some noise for yourself. So when I was creating the Heroes album, I looked at the landscape of music in Africa. All the music that's coming out from my contemporaries is music that's just talking about Louis Jolie de Gaulle. Nobody's educating their fan base. Nobody's taking the bull by the horn, talking about our history. And I would like to quote a great philosopher, somebody that I follow incredibly, by the name of Marcus Garvey. Yes. the brother Marcus Garvey made a statement that a people that has forgotten its history is doomed for disaster. So I always go back to the statement and I always try to enlighten myself about our history as a people, as Africans. You know, so we're going to start right before slavery. You know, what was our experience as a people, as Africans? You know, what was the atmosphere in the motherland? I believe, and philosophers believe, that Africa was called Ethiopia before we had the name Africa. We had great empires there. I think we had the Songhai Empire first. Songhai Empire was ruled by different kings. We had our own trading system. We had our own culture, our own tradition. Everything was in place, comfortably African. You had the Songhai Empire, then you had the Mali Empire. The Mali Empire, you can trace it back to places like the Timbuktu in present-day Mali, where education was very strong and immense. We had rulers like Mansa Kanka, who was the richest and the wealthiest leader in the world at that time. You know, a person that was traveling to do his trip to the Hajj in Mecca. I was told that after doing my research that the streets of Egypt were painted in gold when he was passing by. That's how wealthy he was. Timbuktu was the place where people from all over Africa came to get some higher learning. So we had systems in place in Africa before they came. You have the Egyptian civilization. The pharaohs were doing their thing in Egypt. You know, we had all these things. And the last empire was the Ghana Empire, of course. You know, kings and rulers were ruling this land before the Europeans came. You know, and I believe we would have, the only thing we lack as Africans then was great thinkers and great foresight leaders. You know, I believe they had foresight leaders, people that would stand and say, what will this continent be 50 years from now, 200 years from now? I think Africa lacked that, but we had great systems in place. People were trading with the barter system. We didn't have no currency, but we had villages, we had kings, we had chiefs, we had tribesmen. We were flourishing. And then came the first betrayal. What's the first betrayal? The first betrayal is when we start turning against each other as the people. You know, when the strangers came to Africa, they came with some things that we lacked. They came with gunpowder. You know, tribes were fighting against each other already for territories, to grab land, to grab superiority. And here came the stranger. I think that's where things went wrong. They brought, I learned this in history, that they brought gunpowder, they brought tobacco, they brought spoons, they brought different things that we are not accustomed to. And our leaders then fell for it. They fell for the bait, and they started trading each other for those goods as slaves. That's when the transatlantic slave trade started. The transatlantic trade, I believe, affected Africa, the continent, in an immense way. Because most of the strong guys that we had, talented and skilled people, all left the shores of Africa for the diaspora, for the Caribbeans, for South America, for North America, and out where we traded ourselves. There are categories, from my understanding. If you're in a village or a township and you're a witch, you'll be traded as one. If you're a prisoner of war, you'll be traded as one. If, you know, you're sleeping with somebody's wife, you'll be traded as a slave. So all these guys going against people's wives, trying to steal somebody's wife, if it was those times, you'll be far gone as a slave. Unfortunately, I think it was intentional as well for them not to keep records. They wanted to break the family lineage, the origin of you as a human being. So if you find out when the slaves were being taken, there was no trace where you came from my research, the only place in the North America that you can find
the trace of slavery and where, like, a particular ship came from is in South Carolina. If you go to South Carolina, there's a shore over there where you can definitely see the records of the slaves that were delivered over there and where they particularly came from. And guess what? Most of the slaves that went to South America came from Sierra Leone. Yes, because Sierra Leone was, you know, and still is, we had the great rice planters. You know, North America was for the farming, the rice plantation, the cotton farms, the sugar cane. So all the slave masters were flooding Sierra Leone, coming for great rice planters. And the Caribbeans, I believe, was a transit point. You had places like Haiti. Haiti, I believe, is where they dumped the witchcraft and wizard slaves. It's not a bad thing, because witchcraft and like sorcery helped them gain their independence. Do you believe that Haiti is the first country in the Caribbean to gain their independence? Because of their culture, preserving their culture and their heritage, their Africanness, they gained their independence from the French. So, we're moving on. The divide and conquer came in. You know, these people were smart. They took some of us out there. They created a divide. They brought the split. Now, we are left with just dependency. We are left with just looking forward with our hands up, begging to sustain ourselves. But I believe there's still a chance. The chance started when we had leaders like Marcus Garvey in the Caribbean, when he started opening Africans in the diaspora, their foresight in their minds on coming back to Africa, connecting the diaspora Africans to the motherland. You know, and from Marcus Garvey, he inspired other great leaders who actually passed their message on through music. People like Bob Marley and the Wailers. You know, most people when they mention Bob Marley, they say, oh, that Jamba smoker. But they really don't do the research about what kind of person he was. He was a philosopher, a great philosopher. If you have time, start to listen to his messages, his interviews, and what he stood for. You know, the Pan-Africanism, you know, the unity of Africa, the oneness of our people. I believe from slavery, that's where the borders came, where they started creating borders. This is Guinea, this is Liberia, this is Sierra Leone, this is Nigeria. And now, you started having situations where we start to pledge our loyalty to language and our colonial masters. The French African doesn't see himself as the British African. The British African doesn't see himself as equal as the French African. You know, we are so divided with tribes, we are so divided with borders, we are so divided with language. You know, that is a problem. It has been a problem from inception. It's still a problem to this day. You know, but we had leaders in the 60s who stood up. Leaders who were fighting, who saw the vision of one Africa, who saw the vision of Africa becoming one and united and progressive. People like Sekou Touré, who I mentioned, I did a song for in the album. People like Patrice Lumumba in the Congo, who fought against the Belgians, you know, who actually stood up. People like Kwame Nkrumah, who actually fought as well. People like Steve Biko in South Africa with the ANC, that really went all out, sacrificed his life, you know, just to really make a point against the colonialists. All these people were betrayed. Here comes the second betrayal. The first betrayal was slavery, selling our own to the stranger for territorial gain. The second betrayal was when we turned our backs against, you know, the Pan-Africans who were really trying to solidify our stance in history. In the case of Lumumba, Lumumba fought for the independence of Congo, the Congo, and he gave a great speech in front of the Belgian ruler then in the 60s. Lumumba, Nkrumah, they were all in cahoots together with Sekou Touré because they were Pan-Africans. They were fighting for the independence and freedom of Africa. But what did the strangers do? They actually entered our own kind. our own people. You had people like Mobutu Sese Seko, who was, I personally believe, was inspired and pushed by the Belgians to take over the reins of power in the Congo. And Lumumba was finally and eventually killed. And that's where the dream died. To this day, the Congo is controlled by you-know-who, the Belgians. You know, coming back to people like, you know, Kwame Nkrumah in the Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah was actually pushing for one currency, one Africa, and next thing you know, he was overthrown and kicked to the side. He died in exile in Guinea. People like Sékou Touré. Sékou Touré, I think, was misunderstood. When I was growing up, all the stories you hear about Sékou Touré was, he was a dictator, somebody that was really, you know, holding his people down. But when you check deep, you do your research, you do your homework, then you get to understand that he was fighting the bigger picture. You know, he was trying to protect the Africanness of his people. You know, they actually allowed him to do a referendum in Guinea, you know, to see if the whole Guinea nation was willing and ready for independence. The people voted incredibly in favor of Sékou Touré for Guinea to have their independence from the French colony. The Guinea independence, I believe they were one of the first nations in Africa to gain independence in Africa. And you know what the French did, right? After Sékou Touré gained that victory, the French packed up all their belongings, computers, their expertise, everything you can think of that the colonialists brought, they took and left Guinea. So Guinea was left dry to die. So these are the obstacles Sékou Touré was faced with because he stood against, you know, the colonial masters. Then they started, like, you know, perpetuating internal conflict, pushing the opposition to fight against him. Yes, sometimes you would say he became ruthless. He was very fierce till his dying day. Sékou Touré was scared, was feared among his peers. And he's remembered as one of the great Pan-Africanists. That's why I dedicated a song on the album for him. Make some noise for Sékou Touré. Are you guys with me? Am I moving too fast? Yes. You know, usually we'll be in the studio, but today is a different thing. I hope I'm doing great. Yes. Thank you. You know, I'm just going through my notes. You know, these are things that I put down myself. Nobody inspired this lecture, by the way. All these ideas and perceptions are definitely directly from Denero. Yes, sir. So, you know, I'm starting from history, the African experience, you know, then we'll come to hip hop, you know, which is my cornerstone. You know, but I will say Africa was practicing communism in the beginning because, you know, families used to feed families. They would go to the farm, they would fetch what they could get and share with the whole village. Everything was fine. Then they brought capitalism. They brought democracy. They brought the IMF. They brought all these institutions that regulate us as a people. And now, we are really living with our hands tied to where we can't really bring forth policies that can really change the trajectory of our nations, but actually beating to their drum beats, dancing to their drum beats. You know, they dictate different things. They dictate elections. Like I said in the song, Think About It, one of the songs in the album. They dictate so many things, you know, that we are tied under because we lost our grip. We lost our culture. We lost our tradition as a people. We lost our stance. And the case usually be, if you stand up to really speak up, you know how your story will end, right? You know the demise of people like Bob Marley and the others that I've stated. It's been very, very, very tragic. So we pray that we'll have some more new leaders that can stand up, people that can really fight for independence, Because we are honestly not really truly independent. You know, the word is vague, independent, but we are not. You know, there's still a vivid colonialistic, you know, vision and idea going around. We have to free ourselves from that bondage for us to really come up as a people, for us to take our true stance, and for us to truly be developed. The next topic I'm going to touch on is the topic of the liberals. Now, Denero, I'm out in the story. I consider myself to be a liberal. Most people in this room will wonder. They know my roots. They know where I was born. I was born in the Portloco district, Lungate to be exact. Yes. Yes. I attended the St. Joseph Primary School, Masoila, and the St. Theodore Secondary School, King Tom. So, realistically, I'll be considered as a northerner, as the typical Sierra Leonean would think, and still thinks. But I left most people scratching their heads when we had two past elections, and I endorsed a Southern party, a Southern political party. There's a reason for that, you know. The decisions I made was not based on personal and selfish interest. As a kid growing up, I recognized what brought the war to our country, Sierra Leone. It was when one individual held on to power for over 15 years. When one individual controlled the reins of power in a certain country, it's a very tragic mistake to be done. And I think Sierra Leone did that in the 70s and the 80s. That's what brought about the civil conflict in the 90s. So when we was at the brink of selecting a new leader, I believe history will judge my decision years from now. That, oh, here comes this Stepney boy. I don't even know how to speak Bende. I don't know nothing from the southern region other than touring in the southern townships, doing shows. But I endorsed the Southern Region Party just based on avoiding chaos and conflict in Sierra Leone. I knew that time, if continuation had been the case in Sierra Leone, there was tendency for another fight. There was tendency for another conflict. So that's my decision. That's why I made that decision, and I'm proud of it. But and I still stand by that decision to this day. And when the need arises for Denero to use his influence to protect the peace and sanity of Sierra Leone and Sierra Leoneans, I will do the same. I will do the same. So if you're smart, you're intelligent, you will understand what I mean. Definitely, I want to really thank and appreciate the President, His Excellency, President Julius Maada Bio. Yes. For one main reason, you know, not to take away from the topic, but I believe he's a liberal. He's a liberal Sierra Leonean, patriotic Sierra Leonean. Most people misunderstand His Excellency, you know. I've had the chance to really mingle with him in several occasions, and I made my judgment based on him being liberal. Him as an individual, being a liberal president. You know, he has empowered a lot of young people like myself. Some people will say, Kyle, you're thinking political now. You know, you're just an artist. But it was, you know, based on my interaction with His Excellency and the messages that he gave me usually on, you know, getting some further education, empowering myself. My vision should not just stop at being the biggest rapper in Sierra Leone. He has recognized, yes. Thank you. You know, he has really, you know, recognized the potential that I have in me, you know, to really take this thing further. You know, so when people say, oh, Denero, you have to be president, or your dreams are too big, it's by just recognizing the story of His Excellency coming from a village in Bontiu, becoming a soldier, rising up the ranks, and now he's the president of the Republic of Sierra Leone because he took some time to himself to empower himself with education. Education is key. higher learning, and like I would like to follow and pursue this path of empowering myself. I don't think anything is wrong with that. Is anything wrong with that? So I'll advise all my fellow musicians, all the artists, to really think about it. It's very important. You know, it's something that will benefit you down the line. Now, I'm going to jump to my next topic. You know, after recognizing His Excellency as a liberal and Denero as a liberal, shout out to all the liberals. People are not thinking about region, or I'm a northerner, I'm a southerner, or I'm this. No, you're thinking based on being nationalistic, being patriotic, and being a liberal. You know? Yes, it's the vision of liberals. Clap for yourself, brother. You know, most people don't understand the mind of a hip-hop artist. You know, a great hip-hop artist, not somebody that's mimicking or trying to be. I see hip-hop artists as philosophers. I see hip-hop artists as news vendors. I see hip-hop artists as poets. I see hip-hop artists as self-educators. I see hip-hop artists as trendsetters. I see hip-hop artists as election influencers, and political activism is in there as well. So, these are the stance that I took when I started doing hip-hop. After we're done with history, I think I'm slowly coming now to the inception and the foundation of hip-hop music, the music that I do. You know, the mistakes of the past is what brought us where we are today as a people. Through slavery, through the second betrayal, through killing our own leaders, through embracing the ideas of the West and letting down our own culture, tradition, our own system of governance. You know, you have some countries in Africa that still practice those systems to this day, and they are doing pretty well for themselves. They are doing incredibly well for themselves. You know, I believe us as a people have to start revisiting those attributes so we can be a great nation. Now we go on to the coming of hip-hop. There was a saying by the great philosopher and a great man who was Martin Luther King. He had a quote where he said, "A man should not be judged by the color of his skin, but rather than the color of his character," right? His personality. I believe he was speaking about hip-hop in his I Have a Dream speech. You know, not in literal sense, but in the sense of foreseeing the future. Hip-hop is a culture that I believe started in Africa. That's why I do it unapologetically. You know, I do hip-hop with a proudness of being part of a culture that started in the motherland. You know, why do I say this? I believe hip-hop started from the villages of Africa. It started with the storytelling. It started with the drum players. And these are the same people that were transferred through the slave ships to the Americas. You know, the official year that hip-hop started was 1973. Make some noise for that. So in 1973, he had an individual by the name of Cool Ark from the Bronx, New York. He was a DJ. But this guy embodied all the elements of hip-hop music. He had 4 elements of hip-hop. DJing, graffiti. You know what's graffiti? Graffiti is where they draw on a wall. They might the way they paint space at the wall there. That's graffiti. DJing, graffiti, b-boying. What's b-boying? B-boying is breakdancing. You know the people that used to breakdance? Back in the 80s and the 70s? That's one of the elements of hip-hop. And MCing. MCing is what I do as a rapper. So you have people like Cool Hawk. He started in 1973. And in 1974-75, you have somebody else by the name of African Bambaataa. African Bambaataa was the second known hip-hop artist in the world. And after African Bambaataa, in year like 1976, you had another individual by the name of Grandmaster Flash. Grandmaster Flash had a group called the Furious Five. The Furious Five actually dropped the first hip-hop hits record. The hip, the hop, the hip, and the hop. You know that song? You know, that was a group called the Grandmaster Flash. But before 1975, do you know hip-hop was illegal?
Hello?
Hip-hop was illegal. If you wear your pants down, you are considered an outcast. If you DJ, you shouldn't touch the turntable to do any scratching. You'll be arrested. You know, corporate America versus the streets. So hip-hop has come a long, long way. You know, but after the first song dropped, the Grandmaster Flash song, that's when hip-hop became corporate. That's when the big machines, the big organizations came in to capture hip-hop and commercialize hip-hop. And you have two, like most people would think, everybody that holds the mic in hip-hop is a rapper. There's a difference. There's a difference between a rapper and an MC. A rapper is somebody who does hip-hop strictly for money. Somebody that's just trying to get wealthy. Somebody that don't care about the culture of hip-hop. Somebody that's just, I'll give you a typical example of a rapper. People like Nelly. You familiar with Nelly? Nelly is a total rapper. He don't care about the culture of hip-hop. He's just trying to make hit songs and feed his family. Another typical rapper would be 50 Cent. 50 Cent is just a strictly hustler who is trying to make some money and just go about his business. He don't care about the culture, the essence. And now here comes the MC. The MC is somebody literally... You know, thank you. So the MC is somebody who actually thinks about credibility. You know, somebody that thinks about respect. Somebody that thinks about community. Somebody that thinks about legacy. You know, somebody that stands for something. Those are the true MCs. You know, the MC is a representation of hip-hop wherever he goes. He's thinking about his followers. He's thinking about the culture that he represents. He's not just trying to put out a hit song and then fly by night. He's thinking about representing the culture. So this is the difference between a rapper and an MC. You know, so who is a rapper? From your own sense, my brother. Just help me. Let's be interactive here.
Somebody who does music for money.
Yes, my brother is following. And you know, I look for somebody that looks like an MC here. My brother, so who's the MC?
Someone like you, typical Denero.
Thank you. So, laying the bedrock of hip-hop, the background of hip-hop in the 70s, coming to the 80s, you know, then came the 90s, when hip-hop was very influential. Hip-hop was a marketing thing. It was big business. The 80s, we had groups like the Public Enemy, you know, the Run DMC, those groups. The 90s, hip-hop was already influential. It was all over the globe. It had no boundaries. You go to France today, you'll have people practicing hip-hop. To South Africa, to even India, you have hip-hop. You know, all over the world, it goes beyond race. It goes beyond ethnicity. You know, the 90s, we had the big war in hip-hop. We had the East versus West war. You know, I believe passionately what brought about that was because of the influence and the power that hip-hop was fostering. You know, the powers that be always feel threatened when black people are owning up something that's very influential. So, do you think it's a mistake when reggae music was diminished in the late 70s? Then came the explosion of disco music. After Bob Marley, the biggest superstar was Michael Jackson. What was Michael Jackson doing? Break dancing, popping, boom crap. He's a star, I respect him. But 70s was conscious music. People that was passing on a message. People that was teaching the people how to be back in Africa. And then that diminished. Then Then came disco music. So when hip hop started, with all these great rappers that we had, the Tupac Shakurs, the Notorious B.I.G.'s, the Nas, all these great lyricists, I think the powers that be got threatened. They felt threatened. They had to manipulate something. And what they manipulated was the East versus West. Tupac for the West, Notorious B.I.G. for the East. Two friends became enemies. Two friends became enemies. And what was the end result? We lost both of them. They both died tragically. You know, then all the new rappers, the MCs that are coming up now, they always kept that at the back of their minds. Not to go too hard, not to be self-conscious, not to put out motivational music. Just make music that can, like we Cross, they just make music just to be a millionaire, just to live a good life. It's not trying to inspire you, it's not trying to motivate you. Those days are long gone. And then we had another age where we had two other rappers. One is an MC and another one is a rapper. I consider Nas as one of the greatest MCs in hip hop, and you have Jay-Z who's one of the greatest rappers in hip hop. You know, both are still for the culture, but I think they both they stand for different things. There's a difference between African hip hop and the American hip hop culture. You know, I think Sierra Leonean hip hop, that's where some of my brothers are usually getting it wrong. I was getting it wrong in the beginning because I was not aware, I didn't know how to really decipher both. If you practice in the American type of hip hop, it will never go well in Sierra Leone. You'll be an outcast, you'll be looked upon as a gangster, you'll be looked upon as a nuisance in society, you'll be looked upon as a failure. Because American hip hop is based on being real, coming from the streets, hardcore. I'm not letting go of anything. You disrespect me, I'm going to disrespect you. That would not work in African society. That would definitely not work in the African society. It's a total difference. In Africa, we believe in tradition, we believe in respecting your elders, we believe in minding your works in public. We believe we have certain values that we believe, that we uphold. So, you have to learn how to conform yourself from practicing the American type of hip-hop to exhibiting the African type of hip-hop. And I learned this like 7-8 years ago, that I have to make the transition. You know, I have to make the gradual transition. Even though I grew up in the United States, I have to transform to the African style of hip-hop, where you just pass on messages, where you just motivate, where you just uplift, where you entertain, but don't try to practice the realness aspect of hip-hop, especially with growth. So to all you kids coming up, those are the things you should really look forward to. You know, don't try to emulate the American lifestyle, because these are two different societies. You know, we believe in two different things, and you will be left by the side of the road if you decide to practice the American type of hip-hop here in Africa. So make some noise for that, Joe. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I think I've talked a lot. It will not make sense for me not to give you guys a little freestyle from my album. I'm trying not to miss anything. Yes. You know, I hope all you guys here have already streamed the Heroes album. So I have a song in the Heroes album, the intro, titled Think About It. One morning I just woke up and I was thinking to myself, like, yo, why do we have borders in Africa? Who created these borders? Why do you really need a passport to go to South Africa? When we really fought side by side with South Africans during the apartheid regime. You know, people like Mariam Makeba was in exile in Guinea. She died in Guinea. Do you guys know that? She was in exile. You know, so we fought along with the South Africans during the apartheid regime. You know, why today do we need visas as Africans to communicate or to really travel to South Africa? That's the inspiration behind Think About It. So just listen to the lyrics and you be the judge for yourself. Where I was like, yo, think about it, think about it. Black man, what's your life about? So many great people, lights out. Nation sleeping with the lights out. Brothers incarcerated, but others with their teeth iced out. Think about it, why do we need borders? Propaganda the way they report us, our leaders still taking orders. Think about it, why do I need a visa to Soweto? Africa now is skyscrapers, still treated like a ghetto. Tribulations of the past, the real, I couldn't let go. Think about it, the births are crowded, disease and pain, our days are shrouded. Since like they allowed it, they dictate elections, the mistakes of letting, the puppet masters, the fucking bastards. It's just like, yo, we hustle backwards. I pray for the day we all lose one passport. Minerals to riches, they want to ask us. Want Africa to move right out to Damascus. Think about it, think about it. F me up, grab a drink about it, don't blink about it. We still in stick together. Shout out to Nkrumah Shekuvera, Fela Kuti. My chain piece for real, hella dookie. Get a better life for real, yo, I tell a dookie. We're still not united. Yes. Hey yo, we're still not united. We're still so divided. So much on my mind whenever we lay up in my bed. The heroes is gone. So much pain and frustration. I put in the song. I pray on African warriors continue to live on. Blessings, one people, one Africa. Thank you.
This is how we come to the end of the public lecture today at the Fourabé College, University of Sierra Leone, courtesy of Ambassador Denero. The end of the public lecture. See how the fans Fans are jubilating here at the history department. This is the deputy registrar, Mr. Brema Ba. Wow. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Wow. Fourabé College, the first college in West Africa, the first university, Fourabé College, University of Sierra Leone. Ambassador Denero, the fans, congratulating the ambassador for an outstanding public lecture. After a successful public lecture from Ambassador Denero, this is how the lecture then. End of the public lecture, Ambassador Denero at Fourabé College, the University of Sierra Leone. Wow. The fans. Fans jubilating, you know, celebrating the ambassador for such an outstanding, educating public lecture here at Fourabé College, the University of Sierra Leone. Wow. Fans fighting to have a photo with the ambassador. Wow. This is fantastic.
Because After the event, there will be a photo opportunity. When I say make some, you say no, make some. Make some. You say no. Black. Black. When I say go, say Denero. Go. When I say ambassador, you say smartness. Ambassador. When I say Dennis, you say clever. Dennis. Dennis is part of his real name. You know what I mean? Go and take your seat, guys.
Hello, can you listen? My deepest thanks and appreciation to Ambassador and his entourage. This department always open its hands to public officials, to everybody who wants to come and visit the campus. It's something I'll be working on with Mr. Conte. Mr. Conte happens not to witness the program, but I appreciate it in his absence for making the arrangements and the work that Ambassador is here finally. He has touched on several areas of Pan-Africanism, history, and the role of music over time. So I hope we have learned a lot from his experience as a social icon. Hey, stop the photo. Stop the photos now, please.
Hey, super.
Order. No. Hey, guys, can you leave?
No way. If I do,
We'll have photo opportunity outside. We are going to have a campus. I now call on Secretary to the one student to read at the point in honor of Ambassador Denero. Can we listen, Sam, so after listening to the Heroes album, I've come to realize that the Heroes album has melodies that soar and lyrics that inspire. Oh, really? So as a sign of appreciation, our noble lecturer, Mr. Jallo, wrote a poem for you, and it's titled "Our Heroes, Our Heritage."
Wow. Poem time now, dedicated especially by a lecturer of the University of Sierra Leone. A poem dedicated especially to the ambassador.
We reflect on our heroes. Our heroes are embodiment of culture. We become of them by nature and in nature. No matter how far we go, their lives we are living. Chase for a task, chase for a path. Lifelong learning and experience we are of them. Generations in time, we join in joy, we are fulfilled. We give thanks to God for them, for their memories are immortalized. Never give up on hope, for a path they shape to be followed. History, a best teacher, tearing up for talent, we imbibed. Our heroes, our culture, for a nation we respect. Homage we pay to icons like Denero, Raymond de Souza, author Sibak Belefai, Spencer, Professor Joey Ali, Professor Alusen Chalo, to name but a few. Thank you very much, sir.
That was a poem dedicated especially to the ambassador of Sierra Leone Entertainment, Mr. Mama Dennis.
Mr. Sheku Dumbuya for that wonderful work. Now, this is a period where we can entertain few questions, one from each row, as a form of reflection from the speech Ambassador has given us today alone. It's a wonderful one, and this will not be the only program we are going to have. Subsequently, we'll be seeking for more collaborative entertainment programs for the campus ongoing. And Mr. Kanu, I will coordinate the questions. Just from one. I'm coordinating to ask.
Mr. Ambassador, I would like to greet you in terms of honor. I will say good afternoon, Mr. Ambassador. I have so many questions for you today, but because of time, I'll be limited to ask you only one question. So the question is, the cow I used to know was not a Pan-Africanist. So what I would like to know, what prompted you to become a Pan-Africanist? And what gives you the cause to try to teach people the message about the greatness and the greatness of heroes who contributed to the development of Africa? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I personally believe that I've always been a Pan-Africanist. But I was actually not revealing that aspect of my life. For your own understanding, the first artist that I really admire in my life when I started growing up and getting interested in music was Bob Marley. I still remember in Lungi, when I was like 11, 12 years old, I was a fanatic of Bob Marley and the Wailers. I would check about his biography. I just loved the story behind the guy. He came from a village in Jamaica called 9 Miles. On top of the mountains. I came from Lungi. So I started to identify with the guy. Even before I started doing music. And started to read about him, follow his interviews, and he was a very, an aggressive Pan-Africanist. Most Jamaicans, they don't really want to connect with Africa. You tell them they're Africans, they will tell you no, they're Caribbeans. But people like Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, and reggae artists from the 70s were strong Pan-Africans, So, but because of the nature of our industry, not to say, I would say their thinking faculty is like babies. You have to give them teaspoons of knowledge. You cannot just come out of the blue and start to teach. You lose the audience. So when I started my lectures, I made that statement that I was not fast to really explore the Pan-African side of myself, until recently. Because I've already acquired one of the largest fan bases in Sierra Leone. I've done shows, I've won countless awards. There's nothing I can lose anymore, So now is the time for me to take responsibility and use the gift I'm given responsibly, to pass on some of the knowledge and some of the ideas that I have. So I've always been a Pan-Africanist.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Paul Bandi. I'm a student from the Department of History and African Studies, studying cultural studies. So my own observation, I have come to the realization that Ambassador Denero is one of those charismatic individuals who have been declined or rejected the applause or that of the praises which they deserve. But this is my question, Mr. Ambassador. How do you navigate the criticisms or pushback from those individuals who do not understand or agree with your conventional approach? Thank you.
Nice one. Your question actually is on point because this is something I'm dealing with on a daily basis. I'm an individual who I believe is being stoned on a daily basis. I get attacks on a daily basis. I am totally misunderstood, but I believe in eventuality, I believe in due process. I believe that in due time, those who are misunderstanding me will get to understand the true person. I believe, because I believe that, that's why I've been on top of this music game this long. Before I tend to really try to react, I tend to try to prove a point, but there's no need for that. Now I'm just focused on achieving things like this, things of this magnitude, things of putting out impactful music, generational and timeless music, breaking new grounds, being the first entertainer to give lectures at the first university in West Africa. That's something huge. I believe these are the things that will silence all those people that constantly come after me. Because you know, our industry is very sentimental. We support by sentiment. Oh, I like this guy over this guy. So what that brings is, even if this guy is far ahead of this guy that I like, I'm going to put them on the same level. I am going to argue that they are the same, or my guy is better. But, you know, how you deal with situations like that is just by focusing on your goal, achieving your goal, and continue to prove naysayers wrong.
Yeah, Mr. Ambassador, this is a very short one. Me a big fan of Eagles album. I stream your song. I was one of the people that started streaming your song, and I downloaded it. You know, initially, I felt bitter when I started listening to the song. I said, "Wow, how has all these things then? Here comes the silly big things." You know, initially I disliked that. I was against that big thing. I said, "Wow, how? Man, you're too big." You know, I admired you so much in terms of hip hop. You know, at first I wanted to do music, started to rap like you, but when the speaking came up, Stars, you and LG, blah blah blah, you know, it was very, very sad. Your fan base is used to me. I was out of your fan base. Why? I'm saying it from my heart. But when this Eagles album drops, it revived me back to you. And I will tell you boldly that I'm your #1 fan. You know, the question here is, that was a compliment. I complimented you first, right? The question here is, as a superstar, as a hero now, the things of you replying, some fake people, some irrelevant people on Facebook, I want you to stop that. And I don't know why you keep doing that. I want to know why. Because I see you now as an hero. So why?
Nice. All right. I'm happy you brought that to the forefront. But I'll say this though. Do you guys believe that I've been relevant for 20 years because I respond to people? You don't believe that? That because I address certain issues, that's why I'm still Denero? Trust me. If I wasn't that Denero, you know, perception becomes reality, you know. Public perception about an individual, if it's not countered, it becomes a reality. And I'm somebody that people always throw stones at. Denero get about that. Denero this. Denero that. You understand me? I don't have no mouthpiece. I don't have no spokesperson. I don't have no PR person. I am all of these things in one. And the moment I start to really isolate myself from my audience, there becomes a vacuum. And that's how you fall off your territory and your throne. That's how people tend to really forget about you. That's how the perception becomes the reality about you. You know, it fits certain people, like Jimmy B. Oh, Jimmy B, that big man, you know, they answer nobody. It fits them. He's not competing no more. You know, but I'm still in the ring. I know I cannot be doing it too much. I understand certain people I have to ignore. Certain situations I don't have to respond to. You know, but we have a very docile public in society. You know, people that tend to believe anything they see or they hear. And if there's no counter messaging, if there's no reaction, that sticks by you. And people be like, oh, look at the president. You know, he doesn't respond to things. I'm not the president yet. I'm still in the trenches. I still have to go buy a loaf of bread. I still have to deal with people on a daily basis. You understand what that means? When you have to deal with people on a daily basis, you don't have that fence around you. So if you interact with somebody that's already gone with a negative perception about you, trust me, that's how they treat you. They behave nastily towards your person. So you have to take it upon yourself to really clean these things up. Clean these things. Every chance you have, clean these things up. Because people are naive. That's my take.
Hello. Where I say responding to critics, una say na part of hip-hop. Responding to critics, na part of hip-hop. That's it. So for promote people with disability, we can all make a statement, we will ask a question. So don't be answered. Na part of hip-hop. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I am Alhaji Lore, visually impaired student at the University of Sierra Leone, LBC to be specific, doing peace and conflict studies. Thank you very much, the great Professor Dr. Ambassador